2.5 hours for your work, seriously I think you'll get done with your daily research things. But if it prolongs a little longer, then it is going to happen like what happened yesterday. We ran out of electricity, our battery died and everything else. So that is one thing that will have problems regarding. That's one part of that's the house complaint that we have. Okay. Another thing is there was a little bit of noise last night, so I came and talked to you guys. So you can sit down and discuss, but it was a little louder than discussion. So that's when I came and I intervened a little bit. Having said that,
so the rule is very clear. Like everybody will go to room, stay in your bed, being wrapped up by your blanket, and you study. Staying here in a cold place, talking a lot until 1 o'clock, and then you get caught by cold, a lot of problem. So if you manage your life, it would be very easy. And then go in, there are 2 people in the room, you can discuss and you can study. So that's one thing. So we will not allow you to stay over 11 o'clock from today. One thing, be strict. Pani is enough water. Continuously, if someone takes bath, it is for 50 to 40 people. There are 2 showers. What is problem? You go and then you open the hot water. It is very hot, it comes, and immediately what you do, also you open the cold water. And then you finish, you close the hot water, and even you do not make the lever stand up, and all hot water, that's your open cold water, push the hot water, goes to the tanky, and you go to the tanky, spray is hot. When you take bath, close your cold water completely. If you have to open the cold water because of the hot, open it and again change it, or collect the water in the bucket and then you can also make it, use it. When you finish taking bath, you close hot water, both cold water, and make this lever stand so that cold water will be blocked and it will not go up to. So all water, once it goes up, then it pushes the hot water to go to the tank. So that's a crisis. We checked it. Very hot up, down it doesn't come, and then it blocks. So it's not a problem, it's not a crisis of hot water, but it is. We said many times, and somebody check down there, hot water is also open over there. There are 2, and then cold water tape is open. So all water is, the whole water that becomes hot the whole day, morning it becomes, after 1 or 2 people take bath, everything becomes cold. So take it, we should use resources carefully, then everything will be fine. And if you take bath on hot water, there is no question of cold. And if you do not stay late in the class, in a cold place, there is no question of being caught cold. Go and use the resources. You can read, you can take a lot of books from the library, or you can, some people go to the room, and then you can also discuss. So there is no need of making big noise. I told you many times that I sleep at 9:30 or 10:30, and I sleep like a dog the whole night. So please don't disturb me, because I am the closest one. Don't make like, Jabani pani boys pani badi bhagane. It's nice to mix up boys and girls, even evening, morning, do hog, and then walk like that, as I do with the girls, like this way, okay? Do this, no, but then, if you make too much, then you start shouting, ho ho! Okay? Everything should be used according to its ritual. Therefore, Confucius said, Li, L-I. Li is rituals in Chinese language. 2 things I become very attracted, and I really inspired by the philosophy, the Chinese philosophy, Confucianism. That is that always follow the rule. Rule means not impose rules, rituals. When you go to take bath, there is a ritual. The ritual is like, you don't go to bath and take waterfall on your head with clothes. Will you do that? You open the clothes, okay? Put them in a nice way. And then you do not rub the soap without getting your body soaked. Only then you do it. So there is a step-by-step ritual, okay? We never do it. We never go with a plate of food in toilet and do two things together. Do we do it? What is wrong if we do it? But there is a ritual. I often give an example in the class. Had we done quite a long time back, 5,000 years before, develop a customary practice. When you go to toilet, sit all together, talk together, and then finish it. And when we eat, we go to toilet and lock up. So that would be our customary practice. So people would be feeling shy to eat in open. Okay? So these things are social construct that we do not. That means everything has a ritual. That's what Confucius said. Follow the rituals. When you speak to your father, there is a ritual. When you speak to your brother, there is a ritual. The older brother always affectionately speaks to the younger brother. And whenever he gets like he touches her and then pulls a little bit, that's an affection. But you love your father, but you cannot go and pull your father's hair. Do you do that? These are rituals. So what Confucius is like, life is so many rituals. So everywhere you follow the rituals. That's very important thing. And what he also says is like, very interestingly, make yourself a perfect person. Do not always criticize your other, whether he is perfect or not. So do not criticize your children always like you are not perfect and the good one or something like that. You become perfect. If father becomes perfect, the children will follow you. So if you say to your son, go and get a cigarette for me, the small boys run to the shop and brings a stick of cigarette. And if you say that don't smoke, he will ask you the question, you smoke? I bring the smoke for you, the cigarette for you, the stick of cigarette for you, and you smoke. Why don't I? So he looks for liberty. If my father has a liberty to smoke, then why not I? Okay? If you want to say to your father, to your son that don't smoke, you also don't smoke. If you smoke, don't stop your son to smoke. It's a simple thing. So that's what he said. So Confucius is a very nice man. He also says that do not do something to others which you do not expect from him. If you do not torture other, if you don't want to be tortured by other, you don't torture him. And then I love another man, Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu, who says that if you flow with the flow of the nature, your life is very happy. If you contradict with the flow of the nature, then you will be in problem. So make your life flow to the flow of nature. Do not go against it. If you cross the river, slightly like you flow to the water's current, you go to the other side very easily. But if you go to the opposite, then you will be killed by the river. So river does not kill you. What kills is your non-skill. Okay? So life becomes very difficult. So I sleep very well in the night. If you make a noise, I cannot sleep. If I cannot sleep well, then I am very upset from the very morning, and then I cannot teach. So if you want me to teach well, keep me happy. Let me sleep well. My word is that I sleep like a dead dog. Vedanta was saying that what happened this night, but I didn't know that. Okay? He said that whoa, 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 something, but I didn't listen to it. I slept it. So don't make me wake up. And you also sleep well. So then you can make your life very protected. Well, I will be talking now about constitutionalism of Nepal. Two gentlemen have today taken a little leave to go around, and I am coming in their place. So in my time, they will be talking about Bangladesh constitution and India's constitution. this would be almost finished with regard to the constitutionalism. And the whole objective of constitutionalism that we have been talking to you here is not to make you constitutional expert. We're trying to establish a kind of co-mediated relations between human rights and constitutionalism. Constitutionalism, for me, if you look at it from the perspective of human right, is a machine. Okay, it's a kind of machine. The machine, like we call it Nepali sacho. When shoemakers make the shoe, he has every different type of wooden frame. So he bends the leather according to that wooden frame inside, and then he used these small nails and then converts the lever into the size of that wooden frame inside. So that's what I'm talking about. So what type of frame, what type of wooden frame you have, the size of the shoe exactly would be like that. If your constitution is very conservative, the prospect of human rights being protected and recognized by the constitution would be very limited. So it's a very simple question that you have to start thinking. If your constitution is liberal, if your constitution is progressive, the prospect of human rights being recognized and protected is always better. Now the question is like, how can we make this frame in which the design or the type of the shoe is created is very important. If your frame that you use for making shoes is very smooth, very well crafted, very well designed, it automatically determines the goodness of your shoes, the beauty of your shoes, the smoothness of your shoes. But if the machine, that frame is not smooth or not well crafted, then you can somehow produce the shoe, but it might be causing pain in your feet because it does not exactly fit into your feet. Okay, so that would be somehow hurtful. You don't like it. It pinches inside. So question is like, if your body is well measured by the tailor and the cloth is made, then this cloth becomes very comfortable. Okay, but if it is fashioned or made tentatively, she is 6 feet tall and then maybe 40-inch chest, okay, and then something like that. So still clothing is possible to make. Or you show your photo to the tailor, you can imagine by it. So he may imagine it by somehow. But the cloth, the dress that you wear after that may not be well fit. Sometimes you feel it's little bigger, or sometimes you feel it is very short, or sometimes it is very long. And then what you need to do is like, you have to start cut, okay? It's too long, therefore you have to cut. Or you have to fold it bigger. Then the original shape starts beginning. So what is amendment? Amendment is a process of addressing weaknesses in the Constitution. It's a simple analogy that you can use. So if your uniform or your dress is not well designed, well measured, and not stitched according to the body that you have, and the different types of the body, the stitching might be different, okay? If this mechanics or this knowledge or this skill is not used, the dress might not be very good, it not be very fitting, and then you have to start cutting and narrowing or making it wider. Then a lot of amendment starts coming, and when you do it, the well-designed clothes start looking not very good. Okay, it looks to be something little rough. So what I am saying is that Constitution, if you look from this perspective, or constitutionalism, the theories that you use in the in framing of the Constitution, I said in the very first class of mine that Constitutionalism has certain very fundamental broad principle on which Constitution is based on. So now again, let me give you the analogy. If Constitutionalism, its Constitution is a food, Constitutionalism is a plate. Okay? So your food needs to fit with the plate. You have a very liquid food, but then you're taking it in a plate, it spills out. Then you have to have something ball. For example, if you tend to take the food we call thukpa, with some noodles and a lot of soup. If you try to eat thukpa in plate, what happens? It spills in your paint. When you try to eat, it spills on your body. Sure, you look very dirty. What a nonsense, uncivilized person. If you eat thukpa in a bowl, even not by kind of spoon, but by chopsticks, you drag the noodles by chopstick and you eat, and then soup you can swallow. It is very fine way of eating thukpa. So when you are drinking thukpa soup by your mouth like that, nobody will say that you are uncivilized. But if you spill a lot of milk in the rice, in the plate, and then you do like that, then people say that it's totally uncivilized. So that's where I indicated how important Li, Confucius said the rituals. You go to toilet, even there is a ritual. If it is something like down there, then you sit down. But if you are going to come out, then you will not sit up on the commode. Will you do that? You sit comfortably. There is a rituals too. Okay? There is a rituals too. So, if Constitution is a food, Constitutionalism is a kind of utensil that you eat on. So what kind of principles that you're going to use determines what kind of food you're going to eat, or what kind of food you're going to eat determines what kind of plate that you are going to use. Suppose that your food is going to be a very democratic food like noodles, separate, rice is sticked, it's attached with each other, but the noodle is separate. Okay? Then you look Constitutionalism, that means if your society is to going ahead with fundamental principles of democracy, you never will pick up the principle of Constitutionalism, which is called absolutism. Okay? You deny absolutism. What you do? You prefer liberty. So, a democratic constitution is based on the plate called liberty. So, you frame your constitution based on liberty. So, everything in the constitution, you try to define not acceptable if something goes against the liberty. So, if you are framing a democratic society, then the cardinal principle that you believe in from the very beginning, when you start designing the constitutional provision, you always are very much aware and careful that any provision, the language used in it, the sentence used in it, or the words used in it, cannot go against the spirit or notion of liberty. But you're not making a constitution like the way that we have been describing. You are rather making more of socialist constitution. In the socialist constitution, the public interest and the societal interest is always emphasized. And liberty, not rejected, liberty is rejected, not rejected, accepted. But liberty is not what you emphasize. What you emphasize is like the broader, smooth framing of the society. What you believe is like, if society is smooth, you will be smooth. So that was the principle, okay? But if you go to the democracy and liberty, what you believe is like, if people had adequate liberty, the society would be much more smooth. So what you achieve first. So that's very much important. So what kind of constitution that you have been making? You're making a socialist constitution, a democratic constitution, or a dictatorial type of constitution, or what kind of? So you first decide whether federal constitution or the unitary constitution. Even within the federal constitution, what kind of federal constitution? Union forming kind of federalism, cooperative federalism, or vertical power sharing, devolutionary constitution. So there are a lot of contents that you have to decide first. Now, suppose you finish deciding your content, then you decide. Also think the utensil, like which I say the principle of constitutionality. Or first you decide, I will go for the liberty, I will go for the communitarian system, I will go for the popularity scheme, something like that. Then you look the content accordingly. Okay? So, now again framing. If constitutionalism is a utensil in which you are going to put food, then the characteristics of your food is very much decided by the utensil that you're going to use yourself. So it would be very civilized to eat thukpa, noodles in a bowl, and rice in a plate. Okay? But you're not much thinking about principles first, but you're thinking about contents. First you decide what kind of contents that you want to insert into the constitution. And after you see tentatively what your constitution is going to be, then you also start determining the type of the utensil that you are going to use. So there comes very important step. In most democratic constitution, where human rights or the rights of the people, fundamental rights of the people, are always much important thing, then you first decide the content and then you use principle. But your society does have largely recognized and protected these rights. But you're thinking more about the system to reinforce or enforce these rights, then you first think about principle of constitutionalism. So you see what happened in the French Revolution. During the French Revolution, they wanted to draft the constitution. So before French Revolution, France did not have any kind of concept of liberty. So during the French Revolution, they created in 1779 Declaration of the Rights of Citizen and Men. So their French Revolution did not talk anything but the rights of people. It not only talked about rights of citizen, but it also talked about the rights of people, the men outside France. So the whole revolution, French Revolution, revolved around the concept of the rights or the liberty of people. Rousseau wrote about everybody is born free but chained when he or she is born. Then what he wanted to call the people of France was like, break the monarchy. This is not a system of people. This is an exploitative institution. It does not exist for the welfare of people. So where is the problem of your liberty? The monarchy. If you keep monarchy intact, you cannot flourish your liberty. So if you really want to have your liberty protected and recognized, the first thing that you have to do is you have to get rid of the monarchy. So therefore, even king was subjected to death. Even the queen, the wife of the king was put into guillotine and she was killed. So Prince, that time, like Victor Hugo, the famous French writer who has given too many good novels and too many good books. One of the famous novel he wrote was the Les Miserables. He says in that novel one very famous quotation. What he says is like, French, you stop thinking bread, but you start thinking you're right. Stop thinking about bread. It's not a time for thinking about bread. what is the meaning of the bread if you have no liberty? So your liberty is important. Die rather than having no liberty. The life would be better to die, not to eat, but you cannot live without liberty. So that's the essence of life. Think of your liberty, not the bread. So that was the speech given by the famous French revolutionary leader Robespierre. In a French square, he came and said that you, the French, can live without food, but you cannot live without liberty. Then there was a surge of these poor people with spears, with sticks, and whatever they had, the spade, anything. So in few days, the place called like Bastille, where there were people who were in prison, where the French monarchy had dumped a lot of gunpowder. There was a lot of bullets inside. So that building was almost invincible, not to be broken. But in one day, millions of French came and with their hammer they broke that building and released almost 20,000 prisoners inside. They brought their leaders out and then they attacked the royal palace in Versailles. So this is. So when you think rights of the people is what is the demand of the society, generally people forget to think about the principle of constitutionalism. They collect the food first and they start looking for that attention. But in many societies, they largely become stable. Economic development is somehow taking place. Social stability is somehow secured. And people's progress is taking place. Education is there. So society is much more stable. The chaos is not there. Anarchy is not there. But still then, there are a lot of social problems. There are a lot of adjustment in the society required. The relation between one group of people and another group of people, the economic principles to be followed by the state for the equal distribution of the resources, or access to resources, access to education, freedom to religion, and all these kind of things needs to be adjusted. They are there, but somehow they are not properly adjusted. And a kind of situation is created in the society like women are subordinated, men are free. There is a gender discrimination. Women cannot hold the property, but men can hold. The daughter goes to the poor government schools and the son goes to the better boarding schools. Rural people do not have food, but in urban cities you have an internet and all good hospitals and everything. So there is a kind of structural violence in the society. The structure in the society is created in a way, if you live in this society, if somebody is not discriminating, the system of discrimination automatically sprouts out. If one language is recognized as a fundamental language and other languages are not recognized, then people who do speak something different language will be compelled to speak that language which is recognized as a fundamental language. So nobody is telling that speak that language. Nobody is ordering you. Nobody is coming to you to say that why don't you speak this language? But you are put into a situation, if you do not leave that language, you remain behind. A kind of discrimination already emerges. For example, United Nations have made some languages as the languages of the United Nations. Chinese, Arabic, Spanish, French, and English. But are the Chinese language used in any part of the world? No. Where is the biggest population in the world is Chinese. Together, Chinese living in Europe, Asia, in China, a huge population is there. But the Chinese language is not used any part of the world. Together, how much people speak English? Comparatively less number of people speak English. Comparatively less number of people speak French. But any part of the world you go, you have to speak English. But then it's a compulsion for me. If I do not learn English, then I will not be able to read the book. I will not be able to become a very good officer of the United Nations. So, when I am being interviewed, the experts will ask, do you have a good English? And if I say that no, I have a good Chinese, then they say that, oh, it's nice, it's a UN language, but Chinese language is not spoken in Africa, so we are sorry, sir. You might be how competent you are, but you will not be preferred to work. So, kind of a structural division is there. A kind of structural division is there. Therefore, it's simple. If Ian and I will be competing somewhere in the UN, maybe I am more educated and my better, but Ian will easily get the job. Because he speaks good English, not me. But did he discriminate against me? No. Did anybody discriminate against me? No. But the structure is like that. I have to pull me back. I have to go back. Or I have to stand still here. The man who speaks English will go ahead. And then, much I will go back, I still stand here, and then another who speaks English keeps going on. The gap becomes bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That's what we discussed. That's exactly what applies the theory in economy also. Some people are making money, and it's a theory that more money makes more money, less money makes less money. So some countries that we are here, we are not making money, so we are becoming more poor. And then some countries who have a bigger economy, they are making more money, so they are becoming rich and rich. They did not say that you don't make money. We are not stopped to make money, but we cannot make money. Somehow, there are some reasons. And another is making money. So there is a gap is becoming. So between rich and poor, the gap is becoming. So when the society is suffering from this kind of structural violence, that is called, when a society is somehow institutionally or systematically discriminatory, not by one person to other. Okay? So, let me give you an example. Girls here from Bangladesh, India and Nepal. All of you are getting chance to go to good schools and you are smart. You speak English. Okay? You speak also your language. You are competent. You come here and then smartly you speak that human rights. Oh, this, okay? But what happens, Shweta, if you come home at 11 o'clock with little wine, and your brother also comes at 11 o'clock with little wine, what happens? Does your family treat you well, equally? They say that you girl, you're not supposed to go and stay outside until 11 o'clock and drink, but the boy, nobody speaks about the boy. And even what the mother says there, if the father becomes angry, what nonsense you are doing? You're a grown-up boy. Immediately mother comes and says that, don't shout much. He's grown up now. Can he always stay inside the house? He's grown up. So don't talk to the son who is grown up. He goes out, yes, he flirts the girl. So what's wrong? Didn't you flirt me? That would be the answer of the mother. She encourages the son. But what she encourages? Going inside the daughter's room, first she cries. Why you are going on? She cries, and that's the biggest emotional blackmailing she does first to you. What people will say to you? Nobody will come to you. The neighbors will criticize. And then, if the only objective of my life is you get a very good husband, and that day I say goodbye to you, then I will die so... It's what she said. Nobody is discriminating, but you put in a family, in a structure where you should be discriminated automatically, you discriminate yourself. Okay? You discriminate yourself. And then there will be someone coming in the living room. The boy is goes without his washed face. junky way, like very straight up here, and then say that, okay, uncle, namaste, how are you, uncle? By doing like this, even is he still sleeping? Then what mother will say that, I don't know what will happen, this boy is still sleeping. And then that would be a kind of pride. A boy comes at 9 o'clock with his sleepy eyes, it gives a kind of impression to the family that how well the son is nurtured, he should not do anything. He looks like a master, okay? But then, if you come with your nightgown down there, and what the father and mother will say, what is this? See how you are put into a machine, and how you behave. So when you go down, you rush to the toilet first, wash your face, very hurriedly you make your hair, and then you wear your good clothes, and if it is possible, even you do like this, and brush your lipstick, okay? And then you go, and then, Uncle Namaskar, Uncle, when did you come? Okay, you start talking like a mouse, you know? Like when the mouse is before the cat, it behaves in a very good way. So you do like exactly. That is a structure. That's a structure. If your society, therefore, is suffering from this kind of structural violence, it is not the Constitution emphasizes on rights. Constitution emphasizes on the system, changing the system, changing the structure. So it talks much about social transformation, economic transformation, development, and preventing discrimination, preventing subordination, this kind of thing. So that means in a society which society is much more suffering from the structural violence, where the system of the society is much more concerned, or the constitution which needs to change the system, it emphasizes definitely the principle of constitutionalism first. So from system it goes to the right. But where the right is so violated, and like it's a situation of France, it was a situation of India in 1947, where British colonized, and then they were discriminated, peoples were discriminated in a way, some people did have rights, other not, on this kind of thing, okay? Then the rights of the people, the liberty of the people becomes much more matter of concern. So if you see the constitutional, Indian Constitutional Assembly verbatim, if you see those discussions which are recorded, every day everybody is talking about fundamental rights. Women are talking about their rights, people are talking about their rights. Ambedkar is talking about the rights of Dalit, Sikh representatives are talking about their rights, Marathi have been talking about their every day from beginning to end. Hundreds of thousands of hours they discussed about rights, because they wanted to make their citizen free. They wanted their citizen to enjoy liberty. They wanted the sovereignty of India transformed from India to the freedom and liberty of individual. But if you talk about Constitution of South Africa, this country was a free country. This country was in a developing stage already. Lot of industries were there. Lot of good cities had been emerged. Tall buildings, beautiful railway line, beautiful highways, all they were constructed. Very strong military was there. Everything was there. But there was a terrible structural violence in South Africa. Black could not enjoy exactly the same status as white could do. So there was apartheid. So blacks were not able to become a prime minister. Blacks were not able to become a judge. Blacks women were treated as bad women compared to white women. So in South Africa, liberty was definitely the issue, but liberty was not emphasized. What was emphasized was the change of the political, economical, and social system. So the entire South African constitution, if you observe the debate inside the Constituent Assembly, you find less rights talked about, but much more discussion about how to change the system, how to transform South Africa into a better economic system, how to transform society into a more just and non-discriminatory society, how to bring about non-subordinated situation in South Africa, and how to treat black and white equal was the issue. So it doesn't mean that that constitution, which requires for systemic change, don't talk about rights. It also does. And also don't think that the constitution which is focused on right does not talk about the change of system. They do. But the emphasis of the moment is, in one, it is the change of the system, in another is the liberty. So this is how constitution would come exactly in the same way. But one begin with the debate on system, another begin with debate on liberty. What extent of liberty? So one emphasizes the fundamental principles of constitutionalism, whereas another emphasizes the contents to be incorporated or enshrined into the constitution. So this is such a unique thing. If we do not understand this perspective, if we do not understand this broader background, it would be very difficult to understand why that country's constitution is like that. And we always try to compare in a mechanical way. And what philosophy says that only those things can be compared which have the same quality. Yubaraj Sangroula cannot be compared with the Nepal Airlines. Can I be compared? No. So can you say that Nepal Airlines, Boeing jet is much more powerful than the Yubaraj Sangroula? Is that a good comparison? If you really want to compare, then compare the Indian Airlines with the Nepal Airlines. And you compare a Bangladeshi man with Yubaraj Sangroula. Okay? That's possible. So, when you compare your constitution with the constitution of other, do not try to say that there is a weakness, there is no, because you cannot do that if you don't understand the perspective of the constitution it is sprouted out. So some constitution is sprouted out to emphasize liberty, whereas another constitution is sprouted out to gear up the process of change in the society. That means transforming society from one stage of economic standard and one stage of social standard to another social standard. So emphasis would be different, construction of the provision of the constitution would be different, even the placement of the provision might be different. So many different would be there. So it would definitely have some structural difference in the constitution from one country to another, principle differences, like one adopts one principle, other adopts another principle, but this doesn't mean that one society did not recognize one thing and other society recognize something else different. No, that's not the issue. Issue is therefore emphasis. So you cannot compare US Constitution with Indian Constitution. Let me give you an example. When American Declaration of Independence was going on, and then the founders of the American Constitution was thinking about Constitution, their emphasis was on liberty of the people, because America was a colony, and therefore the liberty of the people was taken away by the colonial rules. So they talked about the liberty, but then there was one fundamental issue. When this country was colonized by Britain, France, and many other countries, America was not a United States. American continent, North America, did have a lot of constituents. Texas was a different state. California was a different state. Virginia was a different state. But as rulers, colonial rulers came in India, and then they combined or united this territory for the sake of their tax collection and other. So that was same there in United States. But when they were talking about the liberty of individual, there was one very important issue was there during the Declaration of Independence. What about our sovereignty? When we become liberated from colonial rule, should we be a separate nation or should we be a united nation or United States? So there was a debate. So states were very strongly demanding that no, we will be separate state. we will remain sovereign state. We were not part of the United States. Okay? We were Virginia, we were California, and we have our own culture. So that kind of demand was there. So American constitutional founders had to reconcile two very important things. One, sovereignty of the states. Another, liberty of the individual. So all Americans were looking for liberty, whereas the states were looking for their sovereignty. Therefore, the concept of union making came out. So instead of taking the sovereignty of the state, America was created a United States of America. So each state is sovereign. So in America, sovereignty does not lie in the union. In America, sovereignty lies with the state. So each state has its own constitution. Each state has its own flag. Each state has its own Supreme Court. Each state has its own religion. It has declared its religion. And also each state has its own language. So there are a couple of states in the United States, their language is French, not English. Even legal system. Each state opted to have their own legal system. So some states in the United States have civil legal system, not a common law legal system. So this was very interesting. So American Constitution was a compromise between two things. Liberty of individual and sovereignty of state. Therefore, American Federalism was created by making a union of states. So that was wrong, in my opinion, India did. India was not like that. India was not a union of separate states. India, for last 7,000 years, it had a history of one Bharatvarsha. Okay? Therefore it was called Bharatvarsha, except Nepal. Nepal maintains its independence almost 5,000 years. Nepal was never a part of the United India. Whoever ruled in India, Nepal was separate. So sometime, Koshala Empire ruled India. The other time, so until 3rd century, Nepal in its western part had border with Gujarat. Gujarat Empire was there. So western part of Nepal, which is now Kumaon, we lost it later on. So Kumaon border with Gujarat. So still today you find a lot of language similarity with Gujarat. Okay? Why that happened? The historical reason was like we were connected. So many words that we speak in Nepali and many words the Gujarati speaks are the same. Gujarat also had Rajasthan within it that time. So you find a lot of cultural similarities of Nepalese with Rajasthani. Food style, the greetings style, the relation between mother and daughter, all this kind of thing. You become quite amazed when you go to Rajasthan. One very simple thing. In Nepal there is a practice that we drink something called mohi. It is spined and with the water is made out of curd. And that is so delicious and very proteinous. So that's a common food of the local rural people. They drink a lot of mohi. So that's exactly what is called chas in Rajasthan. So they do the same. Like Nepal has a culture of eating food on a plate called kas kothal. It's exactly what is in Rajasthan. So they eat rice and we also eat rice. Something called chapati or roti is not a regular food of Rajasthani. Bhat, like Bengali. And why Bengal and Nepal have so many similarities in word? Bengali language word and Nepali language word are same. Only verb is different. Okay? Only verb, speaking that verb is different. So therefore Bengali also called bhat, dal, tarkari, achar. Okay? Torkari in Bengali, tarkari in Nepali. Bhat in Bengali, bhat. It's so different. Everything is same. More Sanskrit in Bengali, less Sanskrit in Nepali. For example, we call it Chora Buari. Chora is Rajasthani and Gujarati. Okay? Putra Bodhu. Putra Sanskrit, Bodhu English. Sanskrit. So these are the difference. So because we were connected. So India was a united kingdom. One time Magadh had complete control over Bharatvarsha, except Kerala was not there. That was called Chola Empire. Then Maurya dynasty dispersed, then again another empire, Gupta dynasty came. And Gupta dynasty again completely controlled India except Madras and Kerala. That time we also remained the same. Srinagar, somewhere Srinagar to Kamarupa in Assam, that was Nepal. It's very long. So the Mughals came, and again Mughal combined India. So when India was different country, so I don't know why Nehru made India as a union. I don't know. When police people become leader, you destroy the roots of your national culture. So India is a union today. India is not a nation. You do not find Indian constitution defining nation. There is no word called nation. It's Rajya and Union. So it was not a combination. So what implication does it bring? That India was a different states, so they created one union government. No, that's wrong. British were ruling a united India. Okay? So how British could transfer to India is a union? Why British did not transfer Indian nations to the Indian people? But I don't have to much talk about it because Indians don't like it. One very special characteristics of Indian is like they never accept truth. They want flattering. If I say that Modi is very powerful, they become very happy. Okay? If I say that Modi made this mistake, then they become very angry. But India, for me, is a nation. But for Indian, it's a union. For me, India was ruled by British as a one single nation. But British gave to Jawaharlal Nehru not a nation, but give a states and its union. It's very interesting. Then therefore United States Constitution cannot be seen equal to India and Nepal for me. Because we now became a federal state. We are not federal in the sense of America. What is our federal system? It was a unitary nation for last 5,000 years. But we found difficulties because of our geography to rule from one place to another place. So we thought that it is better to divide into small unit and let an autonomous government over there. So they will rule. Center will just monitor. Okay? Center will have its military with its economy and other. But this small unit will rule by themselves. So that since Nepal has a unique geography and population, in certain part of the Nepal, one type of community is there. For in the eastern part of Nepal, like Janajati, Rai, Limbu, Gurung, Magar have absolute populations, like almost 80%. In the western part of Nepal, Brahmin and Kshetri have absolute population. In Kathmandu, Nepal have a biggest majority. In Madhesi community have a biggest majority. There are Pahari community also. It's something like 55-50%. Like in the east, Limbu and Rai have almost 60% and other 40%. Mid Nepal, Pokhara and other Magar and Gurung have the majority, but also Brahmin Kshetris and Nevar are there. Here in Kathmandu and this area, Nevar has the largest population and Magar, Gurung, Rai, Limbu, Brahmin, Kshetri have the minority. Together they become bigger, but singly, Brahmin is smaller to Nevar, Magar is smaller to, so that's the kind of thing. So what we thought is like, if we separate this territory, the dominant population in that part will have major stakeholder stake in the politics. So we devolved, not evolved. America was evolved. Okay, state make the union. But we devolved. Unitary was broken and then a small administrative unity was there. But if we want to give a sovereignty to the state, then our federalism becomes worse and it doesn't work. But if America snatches the sovereignty of the states, then America cannot remain America, because America remains America because of its constituents. But our constituent remain Nepal because of its central identity of Nepal. So Nepal, you see, very interesting name. Nepal, nobody's caste is Nepal. Brahmin, Kshetri, Magar, nobody called Nepal. So Nepal is a distinct name, like Germany, a country of Germans, Austria, like country of Austrians. Nepal is not a country of somebody called Nepali. Okay? All diversity in one name is called Nepal. For example, Bengali. It's because Bengal's country is Bengali. But Nepal is not like that. So that federalism does not come here. So, principle of constitutionalism regarding federalism in Nepal and United States, Switzerland and Nepal and India and Nepal cannot be the similar, because that principle does not apply here. So this is how now I conclude this part. Before entering into Nepal, I was just giving you the perspective, what debates we did have for the last 10 years. I think no country in the world debated this much that we debated regarding Constitution. 8 years. There are so many divorces in Nepal because of this debate. Yes, I'm true. Wife and husband debated so much, they could not agree with each other, so there was a divorce. In many families, the sister and brothers, they don't speak because of. In my house, we used to have a very terrible debate too. Okay? I was a bit in favor of the federalism in the beginning and even today, but my family was not in favor of federalism. And there was a big fight. I was often condemned. This country is going to be ruined by people like you. Okay? It was exactly in Hong Kong's family. Hong Kong's wife did not like federalism because she stayed in the east, but she is a Magar, came from the west. And in the east, Magar do not have majority. So she always felt that Riley are always dominating us. It was a kind of odd feeling. So she said that, why federalism? I don't like this federalism. But Hong Kong and I together supported that there should be some kind of federalism. So Hong Kong and his wife, when sat together, they started fighting. My daughter supported my wife. Hong Kong's son supported his mother. Everybody is divided. Everybody is divided. Debate in the class debate, in the family debate, in the marriage. I stopped going to the marriage because the moment you enter into the marriage, then the debate about federalism or constitution. It was terrible. You go to the seminar, you're talking about the genes of Nepal, how the genes of people, how they mutate, then immediately comes federalism. You go to Puran in the religious place, you debate constitution and federalism. Pandit debating constitution, mullahs debating constitution, padris debating constitution, everybody. When you go to date Malami, people carrying the body on the front debate on the federalism with the people carrying the body in the back, everywhere. So if it was possible, even Date would debate. Sometimes very futile, sometimes very tenseful, sometimes very violent, often sometimes even classes, sometimes in a very organized way, sometimes in a very disorganized way. And what interesting happened was, like, the students and the children started playing federalism game. When they played Gucha, it's federalism. Somehow it was good. Politically people become very conscious. I think in these 8 years, Nepalese people have no constitution which they have not seen. From South Africa to Mongolia, From India to Antarctica. Antarctica, there is no constitution, but they presume that there is a constitution. So there are no lawyers probably who do not have the constitution of majority of the country in the world. So what was the biggest business of some lawyers? To make a summary of constitution of different countries and publish it. The book would be sold in hundreds of thousands of copies. Some lawyers made big money. And they just cut and paste, okay? Internet, cut and paste, publish. Because the member needed, like, what is the constitution of Algeria? So they purchased that book. And they could not purchase, so they used to go in the parliament and they said that, buy that book, 600 copies. Poor parliament was supposed to buy 600 copies and distribute to the members. So it was a big business also. So federalism made a lot of publication possible in Nepal. Most of our texts were going on cut and paste books. Internet. If you see federalism and look how many websites Nepalis have run. I think looking only the website, the number, it takes 5 days for you. It scrolls down and down and down and down and down and never you finish it. So this was a debate. But then what did we find? What did we find ultimately? What is with us? I have a very clear position about it. I have no hesitation that Nepal made a very original constitution, a very good constitution. But this very original good constitution is never tested. So it is something like a computer which you are using but you don't know whether its program will work or not. So the software you install in the computer which is not tested. So might be when you are working, the chance of it being hanged is big. The chance of it becoming crashed is also big. And if it crashes, there is no substitute for the software. And then what probably you need to do is like, if this software fails, you have to stop your computer for the time being and you have to design your another software means you will be having another constitution. But one very important thing is like when system change becomes vital issue for the constitution, large number of people participate in constitution making process. So this is generally a concern of bigger number of the people. But when it's a matter of right, it's not always large number of people engage in debate. Some people make the constitution for yourself. Okay? Sure. A group number of experts understanding the social problem, they will draft. So 1991 Constitution of Nepal was about the right, the focus, the fundamental rights. So there was a group of experts which drafted. But 2014 Constitution of Nepal, 2015 Constitution of Nepal was not about right, but it was a system change, the focus. Therefore, it could not be drafted by a group of people. It's very interesting. So, constitutionalism and constitution needs to be looked from the bigger perspective. You have to see the cross-cutting and you have to see the overlap situation. Right and systems debate overlapping, and sometimes debate over the right affecting the structure, and sometimes the debate on the structure affecting the rights. So you should be a very good engineer. Therefore, the word that I use is like constitution is neither written nor made. Constitution can only be architected. So, constitution makings are the social architect. If they do not understand the social dynamics of the society, they cannot make a good constitution. Most constitutions in the world today are defunct because they are not product of the social understanding. Sure, they were either written or they were either made. So now, the constitutionalism by the latest constitution of the Nepal has come to a scientific process of architecturing the constitution. So I always use word like Nepalese constitution is wrongly architect constitution. Wrongly architect because if you do not see the movement of sun when you make an architecture, you'll make a bad house. Okay? If sun rises in the east, and this house is you are constructing in Madhes, and if you face your house to the east, you will not be able to stay in it. It's so hot. But in Madhes, sun rises in the east, but you face your house to the west, then this house is comfortable because it is less hot, because a lot of things have been in shadow of the sun, so the house becomes very good. But here, this building is nice, but that building is bad. You don't see the sun over there. It's very cold. But this is only in the morning, you have a sun from the window. So the time you come out, you come into sun. But in that building, that block, when you come out, you come into cold. So you rush behind. So you don't like this house because people love to sit in the front of the house, not in the back. But if you really want to warm yourself, you have to go into back. So then, any moment somebody gives money to you, you easily sell and go somewhere else. So migration is affected by sun, not by your choice. If you do not go into this psychology, do not go into this social structure, do not see this kind of thing, architecture cannot make a good house. So you need to, so if you believe in the theory of architecture, a constitution should be designed exactly in the same way. Constitution should be designed exactly in the same way means it should flourish the people. It should not prohibit or inhibit people's progress. It should not block people's progress. And it should not create hurdles in the freedom of the people. And then this constitution becomes successful. So constitution becomes successful if society changes to the better state of the progressive vector of the life. Protected sphere might be with you, but if the society does not change to the better vector, progressive vector of the society, that constitution would be rejected by the people after some time. So there are a lot of constitutions in the world which have been rejected. 1991 Constitution of Nepal was appreciated one of the best constitutions in the world, ever drafted. When South Africa was making its constitution, every member, like a Bible for the Christians, had one Constitution of Nepal in his pocket. Very small constitution they have purchased, like in a pocket. So whenever they were discussing about the right to property, the first thing they did was like, what is about the right to property in Nepal's constitution? 50% of the people used to make an opinion that, let's go for the Nepali constitution. It says like that, judicial council, the system of appointment. It is not, it's only thing like India thought to be influenced by the Nepalese constitution, judicial council. The system of appointment. So Indian government somehow made an attempt to introduce a concept of judicial council. And they always praise Nepal constitution. Yes, this is the most important guarantee of judicial, the judiciary of the nation. Because the politicians cannot influence the appointment of the judge, because there is a council which appoints, which recommends the appointment the right person, and then the state appoints. So that was what a big debate in South Asia, even in America and everywhere. So that was there. It was very good constitution. But then why it didn't work? Why it didn't work? So good house itself is looking a house which looks good. It's not necessarily a comfortable house. A good husband is not necessarily a good man. Okay? Like say that, a smart husband is not always a good person. A smart or beautiful wife may not always be a good wife. Good wife and beautiful wife are two different things. So a good constitution and functional constitution are two different things. So we made a very good constitution, we failed to make a very functional constitution. Therefore, our constitution in 1991 instigated or ignited tension among the people. So within 10 years from that, we already have been in a bloody conflict. Insurgency. 10 years. We're spilling the blood. So that constitution was not killed by anyone. This constitution disappeared by its non-functionality or the misrepresentation or the bad functionality in itself. But if you read the provision, it's like a dawn. I said that it was like my girlfriend. I had a girlfriend. In old age, I fell in love with a girl. And I talked to Gita. I cannot live without her. So she said that, okay, if you cannot, then okay, you can think about it, but don't cause harm to me. So I went to Putali Sarak, is a market. I thought that she is waiting for me, and it was really true, she was waiting for me. She was standing, she was smiling. I crossed the road, went to very close to her, and said, I love you. She smiled. I tossed her, she smiled. At that point, I knew that she was a dummy. She was a dummy, demonstrated by the shoppers to take the kurta pajama off women. So my constitution was exactly like that. It looked like beautiful women, but it was not a real constitution, it was a dummy. Why this became dummy? Because that woman was not made in accordance with the principle of humanity. That woman was constructed with the principle of business, money. So she was not beautiful, so the maker forgot that she needs life to have a woman. So if you really architect the constitution, what you need to think is like not the beautiful provision, but the principle which you inculcate in the principle, in the constitution. If you are able to inculcate beautiful principle inside it, and they are functional for your society, this constitution becomes functional. If you use that house, it becomes home. If you do not that house, then it doesn't become home. So house and home are two different things. If you live in home, it means that you are comfortable. If you live in house, then there is some problem. So constitution is exactly like that. So 1990 constitution was a house, not home. So whether this constitution that we made in 2015 is a home or house, we have not started living in it. We have just made the house completed. We have a very nice fence. We have planted some fruit trees and other. They're just growing up. Still, we don't know whether they survive or not. But we have stopped animal going in. That's all. So we have not still been going in. We frequently go in, live couple of hours, and then go to sleep somewhere. We are not sleeping over there. So we think that this is our constitution. Like we say, this is my house. But I still have not seen, I have not still have myself habituated to sleeping, and I don't know whether there is a ghost or not. I know there is a ghost only if I start sleeping in. So if I start sleeping and if I find a ghost, this house is not a home, it's only a house. So we have to either call the pandit to do something and sprinkle pure water and then something like that, and we can make it able. But this ghost does not go, then we will leave. We have to sell this house, and we have to make another house to make it a home. But what I can say is like, still there is something in this house, so I can imagine there cannot be ghost. The chance of ghost being in the house is very low. That's what I can imagine. And behind this imagination, there are certain grounds. And what is this ground that I have been claiming that this house does not have ghost, but rather this house is a house for the good people, like me, to stay in. So let's examine those things after 10 minutes, okay? I will go into that. So you can go and debate a little bit outside. And come back in 10 minutes.